Ch6, Thrill Seeker Psychology. For this study, the VSI must be considered part of thrill seeking. What the participant and watcher are both seeking is the rewarding rush and high that comes with gratifying the impulse, through something possibly dangerous, definitely exciting, and often violent in some way. Much work has gone into what sort of personality a sensation seeker will have. Researchers in the area know that not everyone is a sensation seeker, and that those that are have a personality predisposition. For the purpose of considering the VSI in this light, it is easier to think that the sensation seekers have an abnormally high wish to satisfy the impulse. In this way, one can still include the vast majority of society in VSI expression. Thus, sensation seekers are a special case where there is an actual personality predisposition for expressing and wanting to express the VSI. If we examine current psychological thought on personality types, one tends to find the types as generalised. Also, the generalised categories don't take into consideration the circumstances or influences of the individual over his natural tendencies. Most tests, and there are a myriad of these personality questionnaires, attempt to categorise society into one of 10 or less groups. It is worth exploring a few of these tests to demonstrate that to a certain level, sensation seekers do have a recognised personality set of their own. The author thus intends to look at several of the most recognised and trusted personality tests. The Zuckerman Sensation Seeking Scale. As the most experienced psychologist in his field, Zuckerman developed 4 categories of people that are sensation seeking. Groups 1 and 2 most relate to expressions of the VSI. Thrill and adventure seeking. These people resemble very much those watchers who cannot satisfy their impulse by simply watching sport or horror or action, but must do something actively and physically dangerous. In order to receive the gratifying rush, they seek excitement in risk, providing it is through socially acceptable activities. These people are often risk takers in many other areas as well. Therefore, those that like or have a desire to get excitement through danger are predisposed to expressing the impulse in sensation-seeking form. Remember, as stated, any individual can satisfy the VSI without being a sensation seeker. Yet being a sensation seeker is an obvious fulfilment of criteria for the rush, and the desire for risk-taking may be the predisposition in the personality. This suggests to such individuals gratifying the VSI through being participant sensation seekers. Experience seeking. This is a category that goes some way to being a classification of those who like to fantasise by doing and gaining experiences that are then replayed by the mind, thus satisfying the VSI in a mental fashion, not dissimilar to the watcher. It is called seeking sensation through the mind. Any active seeking is less dangerous and less risky, possibly equally as exciting for those of this personality type. Myers-Briggs Personality Type Indicator. Developed at first by Young, it was modified into its recognised form by Isabel Briggs Myers. The Myers-Briggs doesn't use categories, but plots personalities onto 4 spectrums. 4 different opposites are seen as the basis of all generalised behaviour. At the end of the test, the individual ends up with 4 letters, indicating which pole they were closest to on each of the spectrums. The 4 possible spectrums are as follows. It should be noted that the VSI only relates to the extreme ends of the poles. Judgment versus perceiving, J versus P. Introvert versus extrovert, I versus E. Sensing versus intuitive, S versus M. Thinking versus feeling, T versus F. J versus P. The VSI may be related to people who are classified close to the J pole. This is because these people are predisposed to being obsessive. in control and organised. The p-pole is the opposite, unplanned and unorganised. I versus E. The VSI may be related to people who are classified close to the E-pole. There is a link between the E-pole and Zuckerman's third category of sensation seeking, the disinhibition group. These people are more likely to show they express the VSI because of being outgoing and noisy in nature. However, the introvert who is contained and reserved is equally likely to express the VSI, though not as openly. S versus N. Here the VSI is definitely more concerned with the N pole. The intuitive pole revolves around internal stimuli and is particularly linked to the imaginary. For the N pole person, the fantasy world is very important. This is also needed for the watcher to indulge in the fantasy developed by sport and horror films. T versus F is the least relevant spectrum for the VSI, as it is associated with whether feeling or thinking is what most influences the decision of the individual. The only consideration is the F pole is more likely to be impulsive. There are 16 different combinations. An example of 4 predispositions would be ENFJ, INFJ, INFP, perfect environment for concentration on the N, and INTJ.